Coach made several references to how he wants to shape the team. What kind of philosophy would you say you bring into funneling into what kind of players he wants?
Okay, you talk about philosophy. First of all, we break down our philosophy in 4 major areas. Obviously, everybody wants to know about the training. Training, we break down into 3 different tiers. First of all, we're going to make our workouts, they're going to be structured to be football specific. We're not going to make our guys power lifters, we're not going to make our guys bodybuilders. A lot of those movements, we implement within our program, but that's not our focus. Our focus is to get guys that can go on that football field, that fit our offense and fit our defense. It's going to help Arkansas win championships. Okay, you talk about the second level of that tier. Okay, we're going to break it down by position. I'm going to sit down with Coach Chavis and going to sit down with Coach Craddock, as well as Coach Morris, and break down what each position's needs are. Obviously, we want our linemen to be strong, physical at the point of contact, and make people go that way, as well as be able to move. Obviously, they're a good, strong group, but we have some mobility issues. So that's going to be addressed as soon as we hit the door, So with our big skill position, you talk about tight ends, linebackers, our quarterbacks. We want those guys to be mobile, be able to move well in space, all right, but be able to pack a punch when it's time to come up and deliver a blow. And then with our skill positions, we got to have those guys able to make people miss, outrun people. Coach Morris talked about either you have speed or you're chasing speed. But we're going to make sure we develop speed to where we have speed and people are actually chasing us. So that's kind of how we break down the 3 tiers of how we do our training program, okay? And the 3rd tier, I apologize, but we break it down individually. We sit down with Matt Summers and the athletic training group. They do a phenomenal job here. And we sit down and see what each guy's deficiency is on the team. And we write our program. Each guy's going to have what we call prehab movements at the end of their workouts. You get injured or you get dinged up, you have to do what's called rehab. Well, we want to be on the preventative side of that and implement a lot of those movements. So if a guy comes in and has had some ankle issues or shoulder issues, we want to implement exercises that are going to allow him to turn those inefficiencies into strengths, so we don't have any chinks in our armor. That's the first phase of what we do, okay? The second phase is nutrition. You talk about the Jerry and Gene Jones nutrition. That thing is probably hands down the #1 nutrition center in the country. That staff over there does a great job with the chefs, the nutritionists, and they're very serious about the nutrition side of it because we can train at a high level, but the thing is you can't out-train a bad diet. So with what they put in their bodies, that's going to make just as big a difference as what we do from the training side of things. Okay, the 3rd piece is very important. We talk about recovery, how well guys are sleeping. We have different modalities that we use. We have a certified yoga instructor as a strength and conditioning coach. He's the only one of his kind in the country, and Coach Soltis. So we're going to implement things like that to make sure that our guys are refreshed, they're healthy, and the bottom line is that they got to be full speed come Saturday. Because if we grind them and run them in the dirt Monday through Friday, they have nothing left for Saturday, then the outcome isn't going to be necessarily what we're looking for. Y'all going to be looking to get me ran out of here as well. So, and then the 4th piece, we talked about all of that. The 4th piece and the biggest piece, in my opinion, and the thing that made us special at SMU was the culture that Coach Morris implemented. I feel like as our staff, that's the biggest part of our job is implementing the culture. Just to where these young men, they're going to be successful on the football field, but it's much more than that. It's much deeper than that. It's to make these young men respectable and to go about taking care of their business in the classroom, out in the community, respectful to you guys in the media, and just making sure that they're well-rounded people. Because we talk about the game of football, all it is a game. It's a game that has a beginning, and after 4 quarters, it ends. So hopefully these guys play football for a really long time, but we want to make sure we're developing them as young men to where when that game does come to an end for them, they're going to be successful out in life.
Your yoga coach or that's somebody brought from SMU?
Yes, sir. Yes, it is. He's actually a strength coach, but everyone on our staff has areas of specialty, because, we try to be, I guess, everyone wants to bring something different. And with him, he saw a need in the recovery, side of things. A lot of people bring in yoga instructors and have them outsourced. Unfortunately, we didn't have the budget to do that at SMU, so he went out and got the yoga certification, and it's added. It's done wonders for us as far as having our guys fresh for Saturday. We can't give you all our secrets, man, but that's a big one, and Coach Morris is big on it, so we're big on it.
Yoga also is a lot about flexibility, so talk about how important that is in your program also.
Talking about the importance of flexibility. Well, you got to have guys that, I mean, obviously we have big guys here, but we also have to be able to move. And that flexibility, you know, is going to allow guys to move well out in space. And when you get caught in those compromising positions, you run the least likelihood of becoming injured because your body's able to adjust and adapt to those difficult positions that sometimes you get put in on the football field. So, I mean, people think of yoga and they think of guys wearing tights in a hot room and doing all of that. No, it's not like that. But we want to make sure just as hard as we train, we want to put as much emphasis in the recovery side of things and not just have it be an afterthought or just an option.
How difficult is it to retrain guys that were especially offensive, built for one style of offense, came for one style, now are doing something completely different?
Well,
You know, get their bodies and do that.
I have to answer that question in about 2 months. Now, but honestly, you want to, I guess, start with step one. You want to begin with the end in mind. You know, and then in doing that, we're going to evaluate what we have here. Our first week is going to be just a series of testing just to see where guys are. Once we test, we're going to teach everything that we're looking for, all of our expectations, the different exercises that we're going to implement, the different drills that we're going to incorporate, just to where these guys become familiar with what we're looking for. So we're going to essentially treat every guy from a freshman all the way up to a fifth-year senior like a blank slate. You know, once we evaluate where they are, we're going to sit down with Coach Morris and the rest of the assistant coaches, and we're going to evaluate where do we need to go, okay? Once we establish where we need to be, then we reverse engineer that process and see, okay, what's the best avenue, what's the best route to get there? You know, and so we're not going to do a cookie cutter approach where we're going to take the SMU program and just bring it to Arkansas. No, it doesn't fit. You have different players, you have different style, and you have different needs. So we want to be able to address those needs, and that comes with asking a lot of questions. You know, our staff, we've been in between moving around equipment in the weight room. We've been interviewing several people that are very familiar with this program just to see what we have here. And once we establish that, then we can establish where we need to go.
Sure, from a nuts and bolts standpoint, you're talking about the evaluation process. Is that next week? Can you tell us when you're going to do that, and then what kind of week program you put in before spring ball?
Okay, well, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a great question. I wish we could start next week, but unfortunately, NCAA mandates that you have discretionary periods. So next week is a discretionary week, so we won't be able to do any activities per se. But the week following, that will be where we start that process, and then we'll do just basic combine testing. You know, we want to give guys, see where guys are, where they are right now, because I mean, these young men, they're driven by results. And so you can quantify, you know, buying into a program, you know, what benefits it's going to give to them. You show them where they start, and you give them feedback, constant feedback on their progressions. And the more they see that they are improving, the more that they're going to buy into your program, then the more quickly we're going to be able to establish what Coach Morris and the staff is looking for.
I'm not familiar with the NCAA calendar as well as you are. So,
Okay, right.
So you do that 2 weeks from now, and then what do you go into, like a 7-week period or 8-week period?
Well, we'll have a 6-week period prior to spring ball. You know, 6 weeks. You know, we're gonna ramp it up. You know, we're I'm trying not to give you too much here, but we basically go off of a progressive overload. You know, we believe in Olympic movements. We Olympic lift, do the hang clean, power clean, hang snatch, all of those movements. You know, because you got to have a balance. You know, I think they're more familiar with the powerlifting side of it. You know, they did a great job of developing strength here, but we have to do a great job of incorporating explosiveness and speed, and not just linear speed. You think linear speed, yeah, you go out here to the track, and I mean, yeah, those guys there, you want to be fast, going straight ahead. But obviously, playing the game of football, it's not just play straight ahead. You know, we got to be able to move out in space, redirect, accelerate, decelerate, and get out of those cuts and have guys that can be fast in all directions. You know, so we talk about more specifically movement efficiency, you know, because being fast isn't just about, you know, what I guess necessarily your speed, but not wasting steps, teaching guys to understand their body, how to make sure you're making every step count, not false stepping underneath yourself, because that translates to speed also.
You said you moved the equipment around.
Yes, sir.
Are you need to upgrade the equipment, or is stuff not there that you need?
You know, I think the previous staff did an unbelievable job of outfitting the weight room. I mean, it's enormous. It's 120 yards long with a lot of great tools. You know, and then you talk about redoing. I don't think we need to redo anything. I think that we need to kind of, I guess, upgrade. And it's, I mean, you talk about strength and conditioning. It's a continual process of upgrading. You know, obviously there are some needs that need to be addressed immediately. You know, and then, but I'll sit down with Coach Morris and Ms. Cromer Peoples, and you know, and we'll kind of put a plan together for that. You know, but it's never a destination. You know, it's more of a journey, and you're always constantly continuing to look to improve, because I promise you, down the road, everywhere in the SEC West and across the country, people are steadily building new facilities. Well, you necessarily can't build a new facility each year, but you want to make constant upgrades to your current facilities. That way you don't become outdated, because recruiting is an arms race, and if you don't have it, somebody else does. And these kids, they buy with their eyes. And so if they see somewhere else have it and you don't, then they're more than likely going to go that other route.
What's your personality in the weight room?
Excuse me?
What's your personality?
Oh, my personality in the weight room, I'm who I need to be. I'm who Coach Morris needs me to be, you know. So honestly, I'm different on different days. I think I do a great job of taking the temperature of the team. You know, I'm not just going to be necessarily a set way every day. I'm not a yelling and screamer. Well, yeah, I'm a yelling and screamer. So you hear my voice today, but it's probably the only day y'all going to ever hear my voice. But I basically take a temperature of the room. How the team is that day, that's basically who I adjust who I need to be based off how they come in. If the energy's low, then I'm bouncing off the walls. You know, and if the energy's down, then, well, the energy's up, then I'm kind of laid back, reserved in a more observant role. But our staff does a phenomenal job, and the thing is, we all have great chemistry together. We've all worked together at some point. So they understand that, and they feed off of that. We feed off of each other. You know, we're going to bring the juice. Whenever they come into that weight room or that indoor practice facility, we're going to bring the energy, so they don't have to worry about that. You know, and we're going to make sure that the plan is outlined, and they're going to be communicated that, just to where all they have to do is show up and give us all they got, because that's what we're going to do every single day.
This program has had a lot of foot injuries in the last couple of years. Is that just part of the game, or is there anything you feel that can prevent some of the foot injuries that occur?
Okay, well, I'm not really familiar with that. It's a great question. I'll have to get with Matt Summers, and that's part of that evaluation process. So as I sit down with him and not only look at the problem, but also try to look at underlying things that may have caused the problem. It could be hamstring tightness or whatever have you, or just bad shoes or whatever. I don't know. You know, so that would, I guess, come in the next couple of days as we get to know the team and spend more time with the athletic trainers and the rest of the support staff to try to, you know, find out not only the problem, but then, I guess, root causes of the problem. Okay.
I don't want, like,
Yeah.
Coach Morris says he likes to have guys that can run a hole in the rim. Can you give him that?
Well, you kind of, God, Mom and Dad got to give you that. But no, I think we do a great job of developing speed, you know. So, I mean, yeah, as you come in, you know, obviously you talk about speed. Speed is how fast, how much force you apply to the ground. You know, you talk about a 160-pound guy walking in the door. He's only going to be able to generate so much force and apply that to the ground, and that it be able to propel himself in the directions he's traveling. You know, so we talk about adding size, adding mass. You know, we're going to get guys a little bit bigger or whatever, but that's going to translate to muscle mass. We do body comp measuring with the bod pod, and they have that over in the Jerry Jones and Gene Jones Center. You know, so we assess their body composition. So any weight, any mass they add on, it's going to be lean muscle mass, and that's going to translate to making them more explosive. So that 160-pound guy can only generate so much force, but at 175 pounds, he can generate even more force and get himself going in either direction, you know, a lot more quickly. Okay. Well, thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.